Have you ever thought to yourself or wondered or even talked with friends about how you might be able to make better progress in your life? You know, a lot of people have chronic health conditions, other challenges, a lot of challenges in life, but to really stop and think about how can I make, instead of maybe facing my chronic health condition, for example, and just feeling like I'm not getting anywhere, how can we make chronic progress? So how can we make chronic progress? Hey everybody, today is a day to be out in God's great creation. And let me just describe to you briefly 12 elements or 12, maybe, I don't know if you could call them steps, but 12 elements to achieving greater, what I'll call chronic progress in at least one or more areas of our lives. So first of all, set the goal. And not only set the goal, but probably more importantly, decide what kind of very small action steps we can take toward that goal, and then kind of stop thinking about the goal. For some people, thinking about a big, challenging goal can be more discouraging and overwhelming than just thinking about, hey, what can I do in a small way consistently, whether it's once a week, every day, it'll depend on what the goal is, right? So first of all, think about the goal and the small action steps we can take toward achieving that goal. Another element is being thankful, just reminding ourselves what we can be thankful about, maybe even writing it down as a reminder, especially if we're going through tough times. A third element I believe is really important is encouraging ourselves and encouraging others. Another one is paying attention and noticing the words that we speak and being deliberate about those words. So for example, if we're facing a really tough time, instead of only talking about the difficulty, think of how we can speak words of faith and speak words that will keep our mind and hopefully even keep our actions moving in the right direction, taking those small daily steps. Another element is noticing our thoughts. Now, some of you might think, hey, our thoughts come before our words, but I would suggest that if we're intentional and deliberate about our words, it'll affect our thoughts, which will have kind of a positive snowball effect on our words and our thoughts. And then of course that'll affect our actions. Another element I believe is really important if we want to make chronic progress in our lives is to laugh, to enjoy things, be intentional, find your favorite comedians on YouTube or whatever. And when you need a little bit of laughter to replenish your soul and give you some internal energy, just put it on for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. Find a way to laugh. Another element I believe is really important in making chronic progress is movement. So here I am out today. I'm about to start a hike, but before it gets too dark, I wanted to just shoot a few ideas here. But movement is really important. And then also here, I'm not only just going to be moving here shortly, but I'm finding beauty. I believe that is another important aspect, is finding beauty. So my favorite thing in terms of beauty is God's great outdoors. Another element is asking why. So why do you want to, or why do we want to aim for a particular goal or achieve a particular goal? Why would we put in the effort to take small daily steps, to make small progress, to achieve small momentum and then keep it going? So why? And the why can be external motivators or internal motivators or both, probably both. Another important element I believe in achieving chronic progress is then considering how. Why is more important? Why is the bigger motivational element, both internally and externally, and then how. Then we can later think about how, but first we want to be confident that we're moving for the right reasons. So answering the question how or why, and then how. And then two other elements I believe are really important is in estimating when. When can we potentially achieve that goal? I think that is much less important than the daily action steps to establish healthy, positive, constructive habits. And then also I believe the why is more important than the how or the when, but you know, it's a good idea to have in mind. Approximately when do I want to achieve this goal? By taking these daily action steps, by developing the positive habits. And then sometimes we need to assess and adjust. We need to assess, hey, if I keep doing this twice a week or 5 times a week for 20 minutes or whatever, does it seem like that is the right pace? Maybe it's too much. Maybe it's not enough. So assessing and adjusting. But I want to highlight, out of these 12 elements, I want to highlight a few that that I'm actually incorporating by being out here in God's great outdoors. And these are all happening at the same time. So for example, I'm taking action, right? I'm literally taking steps as I'm hiking, but I'm taking action. I'm taking some small steps toward what? What is the goal in me being out here? Well, it's actually helping me achieve several at the same time. But let's just say that my goal in being out here is just related to physical fitness, right? So I'm taking some small steps, literally. And then just being out here, it helps me be super thankful. I'm super thankful that I have the physical capacity to do this. Some people don't. When I'm out here, it encourages me, and hopefully what I'm sharing with you in this video encourages you. So those were the first three elements: setting the goal, taking small steps. That's number one. Being thankful, and encouraging ourselves and others. Also, by being out here, this is affecting my words. Right? It's affecting my words because as I'm talking, I'm going to be deliberately saying, thank God I can be out here. I'm so thankful I have the capacity to do this. So I'm speaking words. And I'm also going to be, periodically I'll be saying to myself, hey, I am moving in the right direction. This is helping my physical fitness. And that, of course, is affecting my thoughts. Right? So those are two of the other elements. Obviously, I'm moving by being out here. Another element I mentioned that is important, I believe, in achieving chronic progress is incorporating beauty into our lives. Now, I don't have to go hiking. You don't have to go hiking to do that. You can watch something on your phone or on your laptop or on your computer that's beautiful. You can see beautiful things in your community, whether it's just a beautiful bush with flowers or just trees, whatever it is. But I really believe incorporating beauty into our lives is super, super important. So I'm able to do that while I'm out here hiking. How am I going to do it? Well, I got in my car. I set aside some time. I drove out here. I put my backpack together and a few things. I got my camera here and I'm set up to do a little bit of recording. So I had to kind of think through a little bit of the how. And you know what? I just realized I skipped the why. The why is one of the most important things. So why am I out here? Because it affects my physical fitness. It affects my heart, physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually. Why? Because I love beauty. I love hiking. I love God's great outdoors. And then two other elements, when. So I had to decide, when am I going to do this? And I did it today. Now, in terms of a more long-term goal related to physical fitness, like getting in shape to go backpacking again, I'm going to have to put more thought to that. Right now, I'm hiking today with a 16-pound backpack. Eventually, I'll have to get up to just under 40 pounds. So I'll have to put more thought to when that might be a reasonable goal to achieve. But I'm going to just continue to focus on not so much the big goal, but taking the consistent small actions, chronic progress. And then, I'll have to assess and adjust. So for example, one of the main reasons I'm out here today is I'm trying a new pair of insoles because I've had some knee problems, especially my right knee. I had an injury and then surgery. And so I'm going to try out some new insoles, specifically on the way down, to see if they can hopefully completely stop and prevent the knee pain I've had on some recent hikes, like this one. That traditionally for me, this is a super easy hike. It's called Rattlesnake Ledge out here in the North Bend area of the Cascade Mountains in Washington State. But anyway, so again, just real briefly, the 12 elements that I believe are super important for chronic progress are setting the goal and then deciding what are the small action steps, very, very doable action steps that we can take toward achieving that goal. Secondly, being thankful, encouraging ourselves and others, noticing our words and then noticing our thoughts, laughter, movement, finding beauty, asking why. Why are these goals, why taking these daily action steps are important, both internal motivation and external motivation. And then considering how we're going to go about these daily small action steps that'll hopefully develop into small daily or weekly habits. Estimating when, kind of setting an estimated timeline of when that goal might be achievable by taking those daily action steps, developing those daily habits, and then assessing and adjusting. So anyway, I hope that's helpful for you. Being out here, I guess probably the main things that this really incorporates for me anyway is beauty, certainly movement. I believe movement is really important. and several of the other elements I mentioned. Hey, I just want to invite you to check out one of my other videos if you want to learn a little bit more about some of the especially the major physical health challenges that I have faced and some of the big ones overcome. And there's other challenges along the way. But again, my main point here is just encouraging myself and encouraging you to think about what can we do to get on the path of momentum and progress in what I like to call chronic progress. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Feel free to check out one of my other videos, and you guys have a great week.